Okay, so today we'll be taking apart the dash hand mixer. You can see here, these have already been removed, the two beaters, and we're going to start by removing the screws on the outside injection molded surface. So, it's held on the side by 5 different screws. So, I'm going to take each one apart. So from there, make sure they all come out. There's 3. Those last 2 need a little bit more. Go. There's the first 5 screws, and then this side piece can just slide right out on this side. So now you can see here's the inner part. So this part right here, in order to come out, we'll need a little bit more. So let's take out these 4 screws here on the bottom. So these are the total 9 screws being used to hold all the outer body injection molded plastic pieces together. This should allow us to remove, once we get all the screws out. Okay, a little more. That's 2 of them. So there you go, the metal. You can see this part can come off a bit, and this part right here. So this is the top injection molded. You can see it also has a slider here, which we will take apart later. You have all the screws used to hold it together. Okay. This right here appears to be the ejection button, where this came out as well. So let's start by removing this. This right here is the alternator. So let's put it in a position where we can get to these screws below it. There's one of them. These appear to be the same type of screws used to hold the body together, which is really good for simplification of assembly if you only have one type of screw, although other screws are used in other places, but still it's a good simplification step. So right here you can see this is the ejector piece with 2 springs right here that goes inside the roof to be pressed to eject the 2 beaters. While this is an injection molded piece, the springs would be a purchase piece as well as the harnessing bolts. So over here, we'll place all those pieces over there, except for this. We'll start with this one and actually take apart the slider. This normal size screw does not work, so we will change to a PH1 screwdriver, which still seems to be a little larger, PH0. pretty tight, so we might come back to this. And there you go. Had to get a little more torque on it, so we'll get back on the screen here in a sec. Just to break the seal. So now these can all be removed. Keep these separate because these 3 screws are actually a different size than the previous screws. 2. And as you can see, that just pops right off. This is a injection molded plastic piece, and this slider right here clips on from the top and the bottom right there. A little press fit. If we take one of our small flatheads, we should be able to just wedge it out a little bit and remove it. For now, not to break it, we'll leave it over there. So returning back to this, we can see there's a motor. This motor has a fan on it, and this fan is connected to a screw, and this screw gear connects to 2 gears, turning them in opposite directions, which then drives the beaters in opposite directions. So let's take apart this motor from the actual build. It has 4 screws holding the motor on. And these are more heavy-duty screws as they experience a majority of the torque when starting and stopping the motor. So we'll put those there. Go there. This can then be lifted up and out, but you can see there's still these part right here, these 4 screws holding on the cable. So if we remove those, these wire clamps can be removed. That's to reduce the amount of stress being pulled on there. And this part comes right out. As you can see here, this gets pulled all the way through. So this is done after this wire right here is soldered after coming through this portion of the outer case. So this outer case, if you don't have this, you really can't do much. So in order to fully disassemble this and reassemble it, we would need to have a soldering iron, some solder, and a heat gun here for the heat shrink sleeves. And yeah, so it looks like here there is a clip on here. Let's see if we can get that clip off by hand or if we need some tools. Looks like we might need a tool. Let's see if this gets off. They seem rather tight. There you go. But with a little twist, they can come off pretty well. These little C-clamps that are used to hold this in place. You can see I removed one there. I'm working on the second one as I'm talking. They're the same size as the washer below them. so they are a little hard to grab. But if you get a tight grip on them, the first one came off a little bit easier. There you go. Once you get a good grip, you can pull them off. It does look like they got a little distorted, but then there's a washer underneath each one, sacrificial washer, in order to not break anything. And then these, with their washers, can be pulled out, leaving the simple motor inside. This motor is then attached by 2 bolts here and here. So let's remove these screws. Let's actually put a piece of paper below this just in case, so I don't get grease everywhere. So this can't be removed without this here being removed, which this is just a press fit piece. Unfortunately, it looks like in order to do that, it might actually break it. But you can see here that, let's finish getting this off. These threads are very fine, so. Down here. And these can actually fully be removed. Yeah. There you go. So you can see one of the wires is already broken just due to being touched. Or no, that was never soldered actually. Right here you have what looks like some machined pieces connected to plastic pieces as well, and a few magnets and little wires. So this has a spring on it in order to keep the tension, and copper cabling wrapped around. So let's remove these screws. This motor is turned, the core is turned by electricity passing through this part, and the voltage being controlled by here, with 3 different cables coming out to do different voltages. And that is the full assembly. Thank you.